Going down south
Okay.
to visit.
We're ready. Core, we're on.
We're live. All right, so this is it's been a while. Haven't had you on the set in a while.
I know. I feel good though that you're allowing me back.
Yeah. Well, it's not as if like you were permanently kicked off. You were just, kind of like relocated a little bit.
Moved to a different section of the corporate offices.
Yeah, we kind of like you got stuck in the back a little bit. We gave you a corner office. We gave you the corner office of the studio.
But we brought back the best comment lady in America.
Lori's back from. She's taking a hiatus after working with NBC. She got picked up by them. We brought her back.
The Olympics.
The Olympics. She was working.
The Olympics are over.
Yeah.
She was doing the Olympics.
So she did her 2-month stint, out in Tokyo.
She was Olympic.
Wouldn't that be nice?
2020, the Olympics will be in Tokyo.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You were going.
Is lacrosse going to be in that 2020 or no? They're saying 28, right?
Yeah.
Wow, 28. Let me think. How many years is that? That's 9 years. To think of what players are going to be playing in 9 years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Probably some of our fifth graders on our fifth grade team potentially.
Yeah, definitely. If they have their girls, definitely our fourth grade girls team.
There's some girls that could make the USA team one
Yeah,
day.
I think we got the next Casey Chalma and Belle Smith on our fourth grade team.
Oh, I hope so. We got to get them to coach. They're great.
Yeah, we'll get them when they come home from college.
All right, so tonight's about recruiting because we are in the middle of recruiting season. We're in the thick of it. I'm sure you're pretty tired already. You've probably worked for about 20 straight days, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the day off. I don't think we're getting a day off because Chelsea's my granddaughter's being christened on Saturday. That's why we're getting a day off.
Yeah, well, probably could use it, but it's been good so far. There's a lot of, I've been to two, we ran a recruiting event. I was at one this past weekend, which was a team event, and coaches are in full force. Like they're out there, they're motivated. They're not burnt out yet.
No, they're looking for players, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're looking for kids. So let's open it up with my first question to you. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions about the recruiting process. You can just speak on your experience, your knowledge, and how you guide kids. And I think if any parents out there are watching this and have a son or daughter who's currently going through the recruiting process, could be a junior going into his or her senior year, could be a sophomore, even a freshman. I think freshmen should start to be educated on what to do, even though there's not really any contact and there's not a lot of recruiting that goes on, but there still is. We consider them being in the recruiting process because when you're in the process, you have to do your own research and your own homework, and I think 22s can start doing that. So for you, I guess my first question is, how do I find the right fit if I'm looking to play lacrosse in college one day?
I was thinking about that today because I think about it very, very often about what the process, how it should start. And I guess the most important thing is you got to push lacrosse to the side and really know your kid. You got to start to evaluate your kid academically. You got to evaluate environment. Where are they going to thrive the best? What environment? Sometimes kids do better in certain types of schools, sizes of schools.
Do you know of any students in your experience who went to a school that maybe the academic and the environment was not a good fit for them and they had to adjust where they were?
Yeah, I mean, there are kids that go to places and they don't enjoy the experience and they transfer. I think usually that's because they didn't do the homework going in and they didn't spend enough time. I mean, the kids it's funny, we talk to college coaches all the time. Their best recruits are their last recruits in a class. It's the same, every coach. It doesn't matter the level of the school.
Yeah.
Every coach does the same thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have 10 kids in my recruit class. The kid that I picked 10th is our best kid. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean the best player always, the best teammate, the best for the program, the best fit. Why? Yeah. Because they waited till they were the most mature before they made the decision.
It's funny you bring that up because some of my favorite t-shirts are the ones that I get like, you ever heard of Nordstrom Rack?
Sure.
It's like all the stuff that no one buys because it goes like out of style, no one wants it. Like some of my favorite shirts are from there.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? It's like, wait, why don't I always shop there? But still, I'll always go to I'll find myself in a store and try to grab something early, because all of a sudden everyone's talking about it and everyone wants it.
Yeah, it's the fear of missing out. It hurts.
Yeah.
I think it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when people rush into anything, usually it's not a good decision. It doesn't have to be picking a college. It could just be.
What about kids that you've seen in your experience pick the right school right off the bat? Do you have some examples of those kids?
Yeah, I mean, there's been kids that have had great experiences. I could talk about John Crawley. I mean, the first school he went to was Johns Hopkins, and he had a great experience career at Johns Hopkins. I mean, it works
It was a
out.
good fit for him.
It turned out to be a great fit for him.
Yeah.
But that's a young man that I think if he went through the whole process, he might have still went to Johns Hopkins, but
Yeah.
could have went to Harvard, could have went to Yale, could have went to Virginia. He just fell in love and jumped on that, opportunity.
Yeah, he's a cool example because he's now a college coach and he's going to be a very successful one. He's over at Colgate, and he always loved the game and like loved to play it, loved to talk about it. He was one of the most coachable kids, such a good leader and a good teammate. And when lacrosse is really important to you, Hopkins is a good pick. What Coach Petramala has built, the culture, the tradition, the lacrosse Hall of Fame is there. It's pretty cool. He's someone who, I agree, like he realized how important lacrosse was. He put it high on his priority list, but also a great school. Academics were very important for him. And he was also you talk about environment, one of the lacrosse capitals of the world is Baltimore, Maryland, which is, I thought he made a pretty mature decision, even though it was one that he made kind of earlier in his career. There's a lot of stories like, maybe not a lot of stories like him in that he made it early and it worked out, but there's a lot of stories like him in that they found the right fit, both socially
Yeah, I think
and academically.
I think one of the things, and I don't think it has anything to do with lacrosse or sport. I think what parents have to do is they have to realize that, and you use this the best. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not a rush. You don't have to rush into a decision. I mean, we have a young man right now going through the process. Just finished his junior year, and he's visited probably 6 to 8 schools, and a school just offered him a really good opportunity,
Yeah.
and he's evaluating it. And but he's visited 6 or 8 schools, and he's going to have a lot to compare it to.
Right.
So I think when he makes the decision, I think he'll feel really good about it. I think a lot of things come into play. Me personally, most kids I like, they get away from the nest because they grow up better that way. And in my opinion, my 3 children all went away to school, and they grew up because they were away. They had to make grown-up decisions at 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, you have to figure it out.
And I think that's a good thing. So,
Yeah.
you got to evaluate that too.
What you talked earlier about talking to college coaches, like what are they thinking right now? Like what are college coaches up to at this point in time?
They're evaluating talent. I mean, like in the 20 class, they already know the talented kids that they're going to follow.
Yeah.
They find once in a while a kid jumps up at them, but that's not as often. In the 21 class, they're just evaluating talent, and then they're going to do their homework on them. In the 20 class, they're going after specific kids. They're going, all right, I want to go see that kid. So
Will they watch them more than once? That kid that you're talking about?
Oh yeah, and they're gonna speak to their high school coach, their club coach. It's funny. I ran into a kid I coached. God, I don't even know how many years ago. Probably 17 years ago, and he's coaching up in Connecticut. And I was talking to him about one of his best kids, who I know a buddy of mine's recruiting that kid. And I was asking him about the kid, and I was like, "Tell me about the kid, because, what do you think of the kid, and where do you see him playing in college, and what level, and all this stuff?" Because a buddy of mine's recruiting him, and I want to pass along the information, whatever you're giving me, so that my buddy who's recruiting him knows everything about the kid. Because it's you're making a selection process on both sides, and you want it to work for everybody.
Yeah. Should kids? We talk a lot about highlight videos. Should kids be making highlight videos if they already have one from their spring season? With their high school team, should they be making another one this summer? And what should they be doing with that highlight video once they have it made?
Well, I'm a big advocate of highlight video for many reasons, and the reason you should make them pretty much every year from your freshman year on, in my opinion, is you show growth. And what the coaches will do is they'll follow your growth. And if they've never seen you, they're like, okay, you can tell the kid's skilled, but he's not physically matured yet. And now 2 years later, he's much more physically matured, and they're evaluating, did you get better? Did you improve on certain things you might not have been as good at? That's important.
Yep. What a couple kids in our program, college coaches have seen them early in the summer, and now they want to get them on campus. And I guess if you were to advise someone through the recruiting process, how important is it to get there, get up there, especially if you're 2020, go make that visit and see how you like it, or is that something that you should wait to do towards the end of the summer?
Well, I think you should visit the school and get to meet the coaches and get a good feeling for them. I also think that if they're recruiting you and they're communicating with you, you should get up there. You should respect what they're doing, but more importantly, educate yourself on that school.
Right.
And compare it to the next school. I mean, I think that's the most important thing. Also realize the coaches are recruiting you, so they're your buddy. When you get to campus, they're your coach, they're your dad, they're not your buddy. But in the beginning, it's more of a, it's more of that relationship similar to, somebody that wants you to go to the prom with them.
Well, how do you kind of like read through that? I feel like that's kind of hard. If I'm a parent and a player and a coach, obviously they have to sell themselves in the school and their program. I mean, if a coach is selling me because they like me as a player and potentially want me to go there, how do I read through that maybe he's kind of a hard ass, or maybe this particular coach, she just, is not as warm and fuzzy as she appears in the recruiting process?
I think it's pretty simple. You speak to people that have played for that coach. You speak to people you trust. Usually you know somebody that, obviously we know a lot of coaches. We know their personalities. We know kids, boys or girls, that have played for those coaches. So I think it's important that you find trusted advisors that can advise you, no different than we do in the insurance world or the financial world when you're investing in whatever.
What about like the kids on the team? Will they be honest about their
Some
coach?
will, some will. I always say speak to the starters and the kids that don't play.
Right. Why would you want to speak to both of them and not just the
Starters generally have better relationships with the coaches because they're the engine that makes the machine go because they play. The kids that don't play work just as hard as those kids, but they don't play. So if they love the coach, like when you talk to a kid who sees minimal minutes and they speak volumes about that coach, that's, the perfect example is, I just use her as an example, and we've never sent a kid to her, but she's an amazing woman, is Kathy Reese. Like, how many weddings does Kathy Reese go to a year of all of her alumni?
I've never heard anyone say anything bad about her.
She's an incredible woman, and she's won more national championships than most coaches, and she returns every email, every phone call. She's an unbelievable woman. Then you have coaches that, aren't as successful, and you can't get a hold of them.
Yeah.
To me, that's a flag to me.
Yeah.
When the coach doesn't communicate.
What about if a kid gets asked to come to campus and then the head coach doesn't give him the tour around? What kind of sign does that give?
That's interesting. Every school's different, so to be fair, they all have different ways of handling their recruits.
Yeah.
You and I love, like we'll use Brandon as an example.
Yeah.
Coach Childs at York College gives every recruit
Right.
the tour. That speaks volumes of Brandon Childs. He's a special man.
Yeah.
Does it mean that every coach that doesn't do that isn't a special man? No. But, that's just, to me, my son or my daughter, and every kid that we help is my son or my daughter, in my opinion. That's how I feel about them. So I want them to be taken care of. And when I say taken care of, I don't mean start on the team. I mean, if the kid comes to school and has strep throat, the coach doesn't make them practice. Like I remember Brian Volker, who recruited you, you had strep throat your freshman year or something like that. And he sent you home for the weekend and said, don't worry about fall ball. Get Corey healthy. That spoke volumes of Brian Volker as a man. And to me, that's more important. You're my son. I wanted you to be healthy. It didn't matter to me. The first choice was you being healthy, not starting on the lacrosse team.
Right.
So hopefully parents realize what's important and then evaluate that.
There's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of events. In the lacrosse world, you have kids playing with their club teams, with their high school teams. There's showcases. There's prospect days. What should kids be going to right now to help themselves, especially the 20s and the 2021s?
Well, they should, the first thing they should do is they should live up to all the commitments that they made going into the summer. So if they made a commitment to their high school team, they should go to those commitments. If they made a commitment to their club team, they should go to those commitments. Those are the first two things they should do. Because a coach wants to recruit someone who's committed.
Right.
So if I make a commitment to you that I'll be at your daughter's first birthday party and I don't go to that, then I'm not living up to my commitment. So those are the first things. I think that judges the man or the woman that's going to end up at the school. So I think that's the most important thing.
Right.
most college coaches do have prospect days in June and July, and if not, some of them have them in September and October. But if they're showing interest in you and you're interested in their school, I would strongly suggest you go there and show. I mean, I was talking to Anthony Coppola, a young man who played in our program, who's now at Binghamton, and he told me when he was getting recruited, the coach kind of made his final decision when he went up to their prospect day. So that's was kind of like, you know, it wasn't a signature because he was, you know, only a junior, but it was like, all right, coach wanted him and he liked the school. And
Yeah, during our boys premier showcase, that was the first event that we ran June 1st, we had our recruiting panel talk, and you know, Coach Brazel from Hofstra mentioned, you know, talked about prospect days. And I kind of interjected because, you know, for a college coach, and this is what parents say all the time, when college coaches talk about the importance of prospect days, they're like, oh, they're just trying to raise money for their assistant coaches in their school, which, you know, for some cases that might be the case. But, you know, I interjected because we're not college coaches, you know, and we believe in prospect days for a lot of reasons. And we talked about a few of them. One, like you said with Coach Coppola, they might make a final decision on a kid. If you stand out amongst the rest, you might become a part of the recruiting process, so it creates opportunities. But it also shows the school you're interested, which is great. And you get to experience the school. I think, like, to do that firsthand, that's better than any tour that you can get. It's better than just driving through a campus. I think to go and experience the program, the school, the facilities, and all that good stuff is huge.
well, the thing we did in the fall last October with Tommy,
yeah.
I mean, Tommy
Manhattan College.
Yeah, Tommy Zumo at Legacy brought his crew. We brought our crew, and then they opened it up
Right.
to some outside kids. That was a great day for our kids.
It was
and
unbelievable.
For Tommy's boys.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you said prospect days do exist in the summer. There's some of them. You know, where are some places that you can find those?
Well, we have a calendar on our website. You can go on any of the school's websites. If you're interested in a school,
Yeah.
I would go to their website.
Yep.
I would also reach out to the school. If you send an email to a lacrosse coach, men or women, and say, hey, I'm interested in your prospect day, you'll get a response
Right.
with the information. It doesn't matter how old you are, because they can
Right.
send you a questionnaire. They can't
Even for
recruit
the
you.
22s, they can go to prospect
100%.
days. Yeah.
And it's great because
Yeah.
especially
It's not too early for the 22s.
no, the 22 should be doing that. I mean, they should be doing that this fall or like February next year, because you want to get on their radar for the following summer.
Right.
You know.
I mean, do you think it's better, worse? I mean, I don't know, one or the other. Is it better to play with a team, your high school or your club in the summer, or play at an individual event, prospect day, showcase? What do you think about that?
Oof. I mean, it's tough to say. It depends on situations. I mean, you know, we just had a young man play at a prospect day, and his phone's lighting up like a Christmas tree.
Right.
So, I mean, but the high school team's the optimal, in my opinion.
Right.
Because your high school team you're playing in a system.
Right.
So when you play in a system, coaches like to see that because they have a system.
Right.
And they can see how you play in that.
Yeah.
So team atmospheres generally are better. But that's why with our prospect days, we kind of police them with the coaches we hire
Yeah.
to make sure they're getting the kids to play as a team.
Yeah.
And we have the practice and the
Yeah.
communication. But
Yeah, it's funny, like, I was watching a showcase, it was at our showcase, there's a certain kid there that I just know from watching him play a lot, and I was standing next to a coach, and we both said the same thing. He's gonna really showcase himself well at this type of an event. And basically what that means is individual event, more one-on-one style play, less sharing, less teamwork. Certain kids are really good in those environments because they're maybe physically more dominant. They're better one-on-one players. You know, they're a little bit craftier when the ball's in their stick. They play harder when the ball's in their stick. They don't have to play as hard when the ball's not in their stick. And it's sometimes tricky because you find those kids that stand out that, you know, in those situations, but then you recruit them, they're on your team, and then all of a sudden you're trying to get them to play with 5 other guys, and you're kind of struggling. But that's also why you got to do your homework a little bit, because those kids that stand out but also are good teammates, then usually their upside's a little higher because they'll fit wherever you kind of need them to fit. So that's why you got to talk to different people. Who do college coaches reach out to if they want a kid? Like, who do they get their insight from?
people that know them the best, usually it's their high school coach or club coach or club director. Depends on the coach's relationships. I think it really.
Yes, Laura.
Got a question?
So you have a question from Sean Connolly. He says his brother is a junior in high school next year. When should he start looking at schools?
Now, for sure.
Oh God, he should be looking at schools. Sean, you should be looking at schools right away. You should be visiting schools every time you go anywhere. And I tell people you should drive through campuses. You should get vibes of campuses. And you shouldn't commit to a school till you meet the kids in the school. You know what I mean? To make sure that you're a fit for that school.
It's so important, meeting the student body and just going into the cafeteria and seeing everyone, not just athletes, but just seeing just kids that are part of different clubs and part of different communities on campus. There's a lot of niches in each and every school, so
We learn so much when we visit.
yeah, and there's so many, you could really break down a college or university into different segments, fraternity life, sorority life, or no, on campus, off campus, city, not city, jock school, non-jock school, is it geographically diverse, culturally diverse, academic, strong, medium, weak? It's like there's all these buckets that if you just ask those same questions at all the different schools you visit, just like we did on our college tour and the college tours that we go on, you'll really start to figure out that some schools are really similar in certain ways, some are very different, and then you see, hey, what's the fit for me, what's not? And I think
We learn so much. I mean, we do it now. We did it with Frankie and Cliff this February, and we plan on doing one in the fall with some coaches. One thing I think is cool, I was talking to a buddy of mine I played college ball with. I ran into him at a youth tournament this weekend. His daughter played at Louisville. You were in that conversation.
Sure.
And I was really, I was enthralled in his daughter's experience at Louisville.
Yeah.
Because she went to a big-time university, but it wasn't a big-time lacrosse university.
Right.
It was a big-time basketball, baseball, football, men's and women's basketball.
What school are you referring to?
Louisville. And they're building a big-time women's lacrosse program because they just hired an amazing coach from Canisius a couple of years ago, and they will probably be good. They're in the ACC playing all the great teams.
I don't want to cut you off, but we have about 10 minutes left, and we have a quick commercial break.
Okay.
So before we enter the last, we're going to be talking about communicating with college coaches and answer a few more questions after we come out of our commercial break. Okay, so we're back here in our last segment. We're going to be talking about communicating with college coaches and parent do's and don'ts. So let's. What do you want to go first? What do you want to talk about?
Let's start with communicating with college coaches.
Okay, so what should an athlete right now, whether it's a sophomore or junior, boy or girl, be doing right now during the summer recruiting kind of season to help them kind of create more opportunities and build relationships with college coaches?
Before every event they go to, they should email all the colleges that they're interested in. Short email, not a lot of words. More of, I'm interested in your school. I'll be at this event. Here's a link to my highlight video.
Don't mention that I had 5 goals in the first game at the Nassau County tryouts the other night?
No.
Okay, they don't care about that?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
No, they don't care
Even
about
if I had 4 ground balls, 3 caused turnovers, no?
No, they're going to watch you play.
Okay.
and that's what's going to make them decide if they're going to recruit you.
So they'll watch your
after.
highlight video, or you're saying live? They might watch.
They're going to watch highlights first.
Okay.
Then they're going to go watch you live at the event if they're there, and you're basically helping them do their job. So you're giving them data so they can come watch you play. They put together a list, and they go, I got 4 emails from these 4 kids on, the Predators 2020 team. I'm going to go watch the Predators 2020 team play. And then while they're watching them, whoever they're playing, they're watching them too. And then they're going to evaluate talent.
Gotcha. And how can parents help in this process? What should they be doing? Give me things that they should be doing to help their kids.
Well, first of all, they should stay completely out of the verbal or email communication.
What do you mean by verbal?
Any time your son or daughter opens their mouth or gets asked a question, the parents should keep their mouth shut.
So you're talking about a phone call or like a meeting in person. Gotcha.
You heard a story from one of your buddies who's a coach, and they were on a phone call. He was on. The
Yeah,
coach was on.
the other day.
Story.
Yeah, I heard a story from a college coach where the college coach set up a phone call with the lacrosse recruit. So he calls him. The phone gets picked up, and he's on speaker, and his mother answers the phone. Even though the call is with this particular young man, the mother answers the call, and every question that he directs intentionally at the student, the mother responds. And he's no longer recruiting that kid because
It's that simple, right?
she's not giving him an opportunity to speak for himself, which is a problem because the coaches want to build relationships with the players. So I think that's definitely a don't, right? Don't speak for your kid,
That's a
which
huge don't.
we've said before.
That's a huge. But we'll say it over and over again for other people. That
What
haven't
about
watched this.
like you talk about? I mean, if a college coach likes you, he wants you to come to campus. Should a parent help there? Can they help their kid, get to all these places?
Sure,
Is that
Yeah, the parent's going to drive them. In most cases, the kid's not driving himself.
right?
The parent should make sure their child's prepared. Be a parent. But you want to be a really good parent, let your kid fail. Let your kid stumble. Let your kid make a mistake. It's okay. Coaches understand they're recruiting 17 and 16-year-olds.
Right.
But they're not recruiting mommy and daddy.
Right.
And they love kids that are self-sufficient because they're going to come to school and hope they're not waking them up for class.
Yeah. I also think the idea about failing is important. That's why players should just start talking to coaches right away. Why not? Even if it's a school you're not interested, it's build a relationship, learn how to talk to an adult, learn how to talk to a college
We
coach.
had a 22 the other day get an email, remember?
Yeah. A 9th grader getting an email figuring out how to respond to that. He's doing it. He's ahead
He's
of the curve.
he's asking us for advice. We're going to give him the advice.
Right.
We're going to guide him, but we're not going to hold his hand.
Right.
I mean, Eric, I always think of this. Erwin Schneider, who's
Eric's
Eric
dad.
Schneider's dad. Eric's an assistant coach now at Pequot, played at Hopkins. His older brother Doc's the assistant coach at UMass. He used to have a roll of toilet paper that he used to leave by his chair, and every time Eric would do something when he was 14, he'd throw it at him. I'm like, what's that all about? He's like, wipe your own ass. He would teach his child to be self-sufficient by just that roll of toilet paper.
That was the metaphor.
It was the metaphor
for doing it.
But it was great because it was it's okay that you're going to stumble.
Yeah, it's true. We have about a minute left here. And if anyone obviously has questions, we're happy to answer them. If not, on the show after, you can always email us. You can email us at info@flglacrosse.com. Talk about what's going on. There's a lot of tryouts on Long Island and coming up in the other regions for the New York State Regional event.
Yep,
we showed the
the
highlight
videos?
videos.
Cool.
For Nassau and Suffolk.
We just finished them today, the 2023 group. So Nassau and Suffolk, who have done a great job, the high school coaches on the island have built up this Long Island showcase. And then last year we helped expand it into the New York State Regional event. And now so the Nassau and Suffolk tryouts ended tonight. Tonight they're picking the top 50 for the 23 Suffolk and 23 Nassau classes. On Friday will be the top 50 game, which is arguably probably one of the best events of the summer for Nassau and Suffolk kids. I mean, I love that event. College coaches come down, watch the kids play, mostly the 20s and 21s. They look over at the 22 and 23 fields just to start getting names and whatever. And then tonight, Hudson Valley started. Wednesday, Central and Western starts their tryouts. Adirondacks done. The top 50 games for those regions are next week. Hudson Valley Adirondack are Monday night at New Paltz, which is starting a new men's program, which is exciting.
Cool.
Coach Stewart, who's a Copeg grad, starting that program. And then Wednesday night, I'll be up in at Hobart College. First time since 1983 that I'll be at Hobart College. I used to get my butt kicked by them every year. And Central and Western will have their top 50 game.
Cool.
So I'm psyched for that.
And then the regional event, when everyone makes the team and goes up to Binghamton, when is that taking place?
That will be Monday, July 22nd through Wednesday, July 24th.
Cool.
They're going to have an all-star game this year.
Oh, doing an
Which is
all-star
cool.
game. That's awesome.
They're going to be playing all the games on, 3 of the games, well, all the high school games will be in the stadiums.
And who's the presenting sponsor for this event?
Epic. Great company.
And how are they getting involved in the event? What are they doing?
They're doing a lot. The gloves are all Epic, and they're designed regionally for each region. Nassau, Suffolk.
Have you seen the
Parochial.
gloves this year?
They're sick.
Ridiculous.
The uniforms.
The gloves are ridiculous.
Has their logo. The Acamporas will be there, which is great for Louis Foundation. Going to be teaching all the parents about CPR
Yeah.
and stuff
And
like
the
that,
defibs.
which is cool.
Yeah, they're great people. So it's going to be a big event. I'm pretty excited about it. So next week we talked about some of the state champs we might be bringing into the studio. I think we should let our audience let us know who that should be because we have a lot to choose from. There's 6 Long Island programs that won a state championship. So
It's
we can't fit all those
well.
people in the
Who
studio.
won the D championship?
The D? Oh, I don't know actually. I'm not sure.
Because I think Mattituck played in it. I wonder if they won. We got to look that up.
Yeah. Shame on us for not.
Shame on us for not knowing that.
Might have to bring the Mattituck guys in.
Bring the boys and the girls if they both won.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be great. It's a long drive, but
There's got to be a parade or something in Mattituck.
Coach Amato does a great job out there.
He's a good coach. Cool. All right, so thank you for all the advice tonight. You can find us and the rest of our episodes on byglacrosse.com. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any further questions about recruiting, about the club lacrosse world, about anything related to lacrosse, or things that happen in and around the game. And we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, guys.